Hey guys, welcome to Space Engineers. I assume you're watching this video because you want to understand the basics of the game that you've recently acquired, and, maybe get some tips and tricks on how to not get frustrated with this game that is, admittedly, quite, if not complex, but we'll say there are almost limitless options. Well, to begin, you're going to want to click on New Game. You probably won't have Load Game available or Continue Game available. Join Game would be joining onto a server, but the game was really designed to be single player first, so let's click on New Game. And the first screen you'll see is the Scenarios tab. The scenarios are different pre-made scenarios that include places for you to explore or for you to have a pre-established game. I do recommend that you click on the first jump, play it, and understand how that works. But you might have already done that. Learning to Survive is also a good one for learning how to play survival. But what we're going to work on is a custom setting that you will play in to be able to create your own world. Now, I don't know why they decided to make it hidden all the way at the bottom in the back, but in order to have your world be entirely your own, you'll want to click on the star system at the bottom of the list on the farthest tab in. The name of this world automatically populates with the star system and then the date and time. But what you might want to end up doing is naming it something of your own. So let's call it the tutorial system. Now, I'm going to go ahead and suggest that you click on Start and get going without changing any of these options in the menu. Most of these options you can go back and change afterward, but I'm going to quickly dip into the mods and load a couple of mods that are just going to make it easier for me to record for you. Alright, the mod has been loaded, and don't worry, I'll get an episode out after I've established some of the basics, talking about what mods you might want to look for, what mods can affect and how they affect things, and, how to maybe make the decision on your own of which mods you want to install. So, we'll click Start. And this will not take very long to load because it's pretty much an empty screen, an empty system, nothing loaded into it, nothing taking up a lot of the memory. As you add things to the world, as you create more entities and adjust things, it will start to load up and start taking longer to load. So the screen we're looking at now is just letting you pick where you want to drop in and start your survival adventure. There are a number of different planets pre-generated in the basic game. The Earth-like, the Alien, Mars, Titan, the Moon, Triton, Europa, and Pertum. The information about each one is based, you can see it here. They don't tell you everything, like exactly how big the planet is, but you'll notice that Earth-like has 1 planetary gravity, the Alien has 1.1 planetary gravity, Mars is 0.9. So these 3 are fairly large-sized planets. Titan, however, you'll notice has 1/4 of a gravity. It's a smaller moon, just like the moon is. Triton is about the same size as the Earth-like planet. Europa is smaller and has a moon, but Pertum is larger and has more mass to it. The last 2 options are spawning in a space pod up in space, and then just naked in a spacesuit. But we're doing a survival story, so we're going to pick where we want to land and launch with that option. Alternatively, you could just be out in space in your space pod. But for the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to go with dropping in on the Earth-like. So you go ahead and click respawn and load into the setting. All right, and now you are dropping in your first respawn pod into the Earth-like atmosphere. Quick tip, if you want to look further out, press V to get a third-person view. And you can hold down the Alt button to spin the camera around, look at different things, maybe look at your character sitting in the seat there. Now, we're coming down for a landing here. It looks like it'll probably be pretty smooth. There's a lot of grass right there. But that's not always going to be the easy case. Let's assume that instead of landing smoothly or on your 4 feet, looks like this guy ended up stopping moving where he was. We're going to go ahead and assume that you took a crash landing and hit to the ground super hard. Now, it may not necessarily have destroyed your survival kit, which is right there. So we're going to go ahead and access the survival kit's control panel by pressing K while looking at the rear panel here, the one that's highlighting yellow when you hover over it. And we're going to turn it off as though it had been damaged or blown up. And we're in a rough spot. We don't like where we landed. So the way to respawn, if the survival kit is on, you turn it off. Because if you press the respawn button, backspace, you'll automatically go to the closest active survival kit or medical room. But without one being active, it'll allow us to respawn back at the respawn menu. So we're going to go ahead and pick the planet we want to land on again. Let's stick with the Earth-like for now and respawn. And there we go, folks. We are falling in again on the Earth-like planet. And at the beginning of the next installment of the Beginner's Basics, we'll talk about what do you do with the resources available to you on the planet and in the respawn pod. So, I hope you liked this one. Subscribe so you can catch the next episode, and we'll see you next time on Beginner's Basics.